Well, happy Threes Day, YouTube. My name is jamespfp. I don't know if the camera doesn't lie or if this is pitchforks and flaming torches. I think it's more like pitchforks and flaming torches. Says live, says health good. Here's the chat. Chat's loaded. Visible. Anyone wants to join chat this morning? I'm going to be up for a little while longer. I've got one task to do. I'm going to listen to some news in the background. This is Chris Simpson. Got this video linked in the description already.
There have been a few new developments in the long-running scandal involving Hillary Clinton's emails. This was a huge scandal leading up to the presidential election. Just this week, today is September 11th, 2017. Today, Monday, a Maryland judge has just ordered an investigation into 3 Hillary Clinton lawyers. This is following a complaint that these lawyers, it alleges that they helped her delete thousands of official emails that were kept on a private server. This was the key part of this scandal, that she was storing these emails on a private server, using it for official business. These lawyers destroyed these emails, according to this complaint. It's believed it was done in an attempt to destroy key evidence against Clinton in the case. They were trying to protect Hillary Clinton. This is based off a complaint that was brought forward by attorney Ty Clevenger. And this case has been brought forward to the court. It's been developing for a number of months. He's been pressing the courts to take action against Hillary Clinton and her lawyers for their mishandling of her official emails during her time as Secretary of State. In August of this year, just last month, the FBI attempted to sidestep a Freedom of Information Act request by Clevenger for the release of documents pertaining to the Clinton email investigation. This could have been key evidence in this related court case. The FBI responded by denying the request. They said that they were justified in hiding the Clinton documents due to a lack of public interest in the investigation. And this was just last month. They received a lot of criticism for this response. The Department of the Justice Department responded to this as well. Mr. Clevenger, this is an article from the Washington Times on the same issue. He says that he considered it a victory in recent days when the Justice Department agreed that his case did meet the threshold of intense public interest to justify the release of these documents, which the FBI were trying to withhold. The FBI had denied the open records request into its investigation on grounds that there was not sufficient public interest to overcome Mrs. Clinton's privacy rights. It's very strange. Mrs. Clinton, obviously, Hillary Clinton's been a public figure for decades. You would imagine that the public interest in these documents would far outweigh the expected privacy that you would have from a public figure like Clinton. Mr. Clevenger appealed to the Justice Department, which ruled that it would expedite his request, signifying it accepts his claims of public interest. So that was a small victory in regards to the release of these documents last month. Now, this week, the judge handling the case, Paul F. Harris, he's said that the complaint has merit against Clinton, and this should be enough to prompt further investigation. Maryland's Office of Bar Counsel had originally tried to dismiss the complaint as frivolous, but Judge Harris rejected the dismissal, saying that the complaints against Clinton's lawyers were egregious. They were worth investigating, and the allegations of destroyed evidence further meant that the bar should be required to fully investigate Clinton's attorneys. The attorneys named, the 3 attorneys named were David E. Kendall, Cheryl D. Mills, and Heather Samuelson. These are some very close Clinton allies. Cheryl Mills, in particular, has a long history with Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton going back to the 90s. There was a notable email exchange, and in regards to this scandal, it's there are a number of ways to interpret, I guess, this exchange, but it was reported later after this email scandal broke, the news that Hillary Clinton was using a private server, people in Hillary Clinton's camp tried to blame Cheryl Mills for this decision. They said that Cheryl Mills okayed the decision to use the private email server, that Hillary wasn't to blame. This was the story that they were coming up with internally. Whether this was a story that was being concocted and they were trying to find a scapegoat, or whether they genuinely believed this at the time, it's unclear. But this was the exchange. This was from the WikiLeaks, from the WikiLeaks documents. This was an email exchange between John Podesta and Neera Tandine, where they speculate that Cheryl Mills was the leaker. The original message from July 25th, 2015.
I want to be able to read some of
this
my
was
metadata
from
here.
July 24th. Neera opened the exchange saying, "Do we actually know who told Hillary she could use a private email? And has that person been drawn and quartered? Like, the whole thing is insane," she says to John Podesta. John Podesta, again, it's what his motive is in responding to this, but is unclear. But he makes the suggestion, he plants the idea that it was Cheryl Mills that is solely responsible for the use of this private email server. He says, "Don't you think Cheryl?" in response to Neera asking, "Do we know who told Hillary she could use a private email?" Neera responds to John Podesta. I'm not sure if this is how they typically talk about their colleagues, but she asks John Podesta, "I repeat, why hasn't this person been drawn and quartered? I'm reading Wolf Hall. There is something to be said for the power of torture." I mean, she literally they're suggesting to John Podesta that they torture Cheryl Mills, and she seems serious about it. I mean, there's two responses back to back. First asking that she be drawn and quartered, then doubling down on it, and it seems like a serious suggestion of torturing people in their own camp. This is not to absolve Cheryl Mills's Cheryl Mills' role in this scandal, but it does seem like it was a possible story that was being worked out to deflect from Hillary Clinton's guilt in this as well. John Podesta finally responded to the suggestion that they torture Cheryl Mills, saying, "At least we now know why Cheryl didn't want her to run." So Cheryl Mills is one of these three lawyers that is set to be investigated in this case, this complaint that was set by Clevenger. We should expect some new developments in that case. I will follow up as more information comes out. Let me know what you think about these most recent developments, what you think may happen with Cheryl Mills in particular. If you could leave a like on this video, it's greatly appreciated, and subscribe to the channel. I will check back shortly. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. So Chris Simpson is right there. I'll let him do his whole spiel, because at the end, yeah, this guy's looking for not just subscribers and stuff, but Patreons and whatnot. So if you like his channel, please subscribe to him too. I like his channel. Right on, that worked like a charm. Will this work now? Let me check this. Yeah. See? Yeah. Task at hand. Whoop. Wrong one. The motion stabilization for this part here doesn't please me. So I'm going to have a good look at what channels got what data. If there's a combined channel, which I think will work well for the best of it. I'm very tempted to that's the M key. Mute. What I'm thinking on here is to do this short 100 and some odd frames again. Reload the footage here. Looking at it in the blue channel first. Thinking blue scattered light is what's mostly going to be causing highlights. What I did earlier was track to these 2 points because they're visible early. Then there's the issue of the guy runs in front of it. Tracking the things in the background, which are very blurry, didn't strike me as a good idea. Maybe those two together work better than those two together. These things are no good. They're going to be changing. These things are reflections. They're going to be stable in a different kind of way. You know, or in other words, if they were where they're supposed to be, they'd be alright. Like you track them as if they were background. But I think this remains the best. And I have to stay back. And of course, you can see at the beginning too, it's visible from the beginning, and then it drops out a frame or two. And it doesn't pick up in any given channel terribly well, other than blue. Blue gets it. Blue-green kind of gets it. Red-green kinds of gets it. So blue and green. Ignoring red, I guess, because bricks. Which tends to tell me if I wanted to pick one to start on, it might be that one. This definitely gets classified as blurry footage. Kick the red channel. Only going to worry about loc on this one. Keyframe, pre-pass is cool. Correlation I'm going to turn up. This is... I'm going to try higher in the... Although I don't think it's really going to get that high. 0.77 is higher than I was trying earlier. Pattern and everything's going to be shown. I'm going to show the search area too. Turn the length of the display down to 11. In fact, I've been liking it at 7. 7 or lower, even. Don't need a grease pencil turned on. Going to save it. The area. And this is the plug top. I'll lock to it while I'm at it. I'll scale it up. Evidence that there's motion blur going this way, but I can see the region of darkest contrast is there. Or darkest pixels. We don't really know in advance what the wow. I like it better over here. And I'm going to very slightly move it up. Go back one. I'll grab it and manually move it. Go back one. Grab it, manually move it. You set a keyframe every time, and I don't need any of these things really over here anymore. I'll just these. Check. Go back one. Grab, manually move it. Should be frame one. Yes. Saving right now. We're going to see only 100 frames this time anyway, 130. Two, three, four. There's the fifth one. Right now, that should be about center. Back one and check. I think it needs to come down a bit. This one I'm going to be really precise about. Next. Grab. I'd like to see this pattern better. Back, forward. Makes sense that there's a reflection moving this way across it. That's what it seems to be. Going to try an auto track. Gets it. Doesn't get it. Go back. Grab, move it on the X a little. I'm starting to think about how to make this thing different to increase the chances it's going to be able to track it all. So scaling on just the Y. And scale it up universally now, like in proportion. Forward one. Dead center. Haven't used the grease pencil yet at all, but that's a neat little tool. But I wanted that one forward too. Grab. I'll do it again. Saving. Pattern's off the screen, so I need to make it smaller. Great. This is a configurable too, the way that the pattern responds to things. For example, I can tell it to even track this point even though the pattern's going over the screen. That's under tracking settings. Extra. Margin. Distance from image boundary at which the marker stops tracking. Distance from, not over. Rains are pouring. I took some video earlier. I might broadcast that before I go to bed. It's got no audio. I have a camera cover waterproof case. Ooh, I'll go over here. Waterproof case for my action cam. So I took it out, gave it a try. See how it works. Interesting. Also gave me something to think about in terms of grassy knoll, so that's why I took it out. I wanted to have a look at how it would handle displaying uphill, downhill motion. Yeah, this needs to go back on the X. Tell me it don't. There's a reflection coming back over this. There's a metal cap or something in the ground, yeah? So the reflection is doing the damage frame to frame. I'm thinking about how to... I'm using the pattern now to track this data. And she's moving. Not really too quickly. I think I hear some kind of alarm in the background here tonight. Last time I heard something like that, times was not nice for a local owner of a car. Back one, forward one. So that's lower and to the right. Grab, we do lower first. And grab to the right. I would imagine it's right on the edge of the screen. Oh, that can't be. Perhaps it's very, very close to the last one. So again, down, maybe a little to the right. That's pretty good on the up and down. It needs to be back. Again, more to the right, which means I think I gotta move to the left. So now it's to the left, it comes to the right, okay. This is one of those times I think onion skinning would be really nice as a tool here. Saving, let's have a look. Go right to the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look. This one's easy peasy. Excuse me. Grab on the Y, I think. One before was up, right? So grab on the Y and move it down. Again, maybe I even go there. Oh, that seems way too low. That on the other hand. Tracked a whole bunch there on its own. That's pretty cool. Get an idea of what the motion analysis looks like as we lay these keyframes down. I'll go back 10. Let's have a peek. 1, 2. The thing I can do to make some of this easier to track from like frame to frame too, the grease pencil tool is actually kind of useful. Maybe I'll demonstrate it quickly. A few things I want to track with relation to this point. These two are on a ground plane, which are going to change slightly as Ford moves towards them. But the relationship otherwise, as they're in the distance, is pretty much the same until they get closer. So what I'm thinking about is from one frame to the next, how to track where the tree is, so that I can know where to put the next one, kind of by. And I've done this before in almost the same manner as you use the GG to move the selection pattern itself and measure a distance. You can do that with grease pencil too. Question is, do you want to attach the pencil to the track or to the clip? In this case, to the track. I'm going to put up a new layer. It's going to be X-ray, its opacity is full. I'm going to turn this factor up. I'm going to change its color. Opacity could be maybe 50%. The thickness. Oh no, that's been. And we have onion skinning here, which is really nice. And I can lay one down frame by frame, places that I want one. I have a grease pencil tab over here, which gives me some drawing tools. Before one and after one. And since this are like this is a pretty good deal, I think, if this is this color. I can define a thickness of the line that I'm going to draw here. Grease pencil literally is like a grease pencil in an animation sense. I'm going to make this one 2. No, maybe 1's fine. Well, a thick line won't kill me. There's another thickness value over here. The mouse is the tool to use for the pencil. There's a series of key presses and commands for grease pencil. I rarely use it. Well, I've been using it more because it is quite useful. You can draw or you can make a line. You can click that, and you also have additive or continuous drawing. Additive means it tracks where the points are being laid down in order. And then if you lay down a second line afterward, it knows you drew this one first, the other one second, and the third one. And then you can animate by the draw, like what you draw when. Just really nice. We're going to set it to track. Stroke placement to view. Enable editing of strokes. Yeah, why not? But not yet. Type of stroke. Basic pencil, ink. It's basic shapes and sensitivities and stuff. I'm going to turn sensitivity down a little. Strength will be fine. Randomness doesn't need motion act or pressure sensitive. Thickness of the line down to 7. This is what I want to track. I hold the D key and draw, and then I hold D key and draw. If I go forward 1 frame, when creating frames, the strokes from the previous are included as the basis for the new one. No. Maybe I should have done that before I did this. That's the first frame. I think I should probably Control Z both those. Turn off additive. I want, one after. Thickness, show page. Did I change any of these settings? Not that I changed them much. There's the smoothness of the line and iterations, Manhattan distance and stuff. You can choose all that. Angle of the pen if you were really, really picky. I've got a hand tool there. I can I'll show it to you. These Wacom tablets. I use this frequently with the grease pencil. I did like a thicker line. I did like a darker line. There's 1. There's 2. And that second one, not so great. So if I hit... Ooh. Should be able to select... Ooh, maybe not. If I undo that, hang on now. Enable editing. Grease pencil stroke editing. Oh, disable editing. Because it's locked down to the view, or to the track. Oh, so maybe that's the wrong one. Now I could blow out this layer entirely, but I would lose these settings, so I'm going to just Control Z. And take it back. Ooh. So I want it on the clip. I can choose the one I already had though to make it on the clip. Ooh, that's not great. I can fix the line. And that one's not great either, but it doesn't much matter. See if it stays. Oh, it doesn't either. It's because it's to view. Let's try the cursor. D. It's more like I want it. So additives turned off. If I draw a frame now, this old one disappears. Yep. Draw a frame now. This old one disappears. So if I go back in time now, we got an idea where these are going to be as a grease pencil. Because I can at least see where I've got these little marks made. And these aren't very precise, but they might help. Because I got to figure a distance between these two. So if I make another one, we'll use this for measurement purposes. I'll make this one red. Maybe that's not a very good choice for color. Yellow would be better. X ratio points factor 100. Thickness 1. Turn off onion skinning on this layer. I'm going to just lock this first one so it's not going to change or move. And I'll lock to this track again. So see, can it go to the next one? I've got this other grease pencil layer selected now, and it's set up for the same tools, like the same setting on the tool. Thing is, I think when I draw the line here, what I'm going to do is measure this. Oh, it's attached, same as the other one. Huh. Anyhow, that's enough fooling around with grease pencil. Oh, it's a locked layer. Right. My bad. Forgive me, Blender, forgive me. Oh, the pattern. I'm willing to bet there's a whole bunch of cruise ships coming in the harbor this morning, even with the rain. A valiant attempt. Shocking. I saw where it wanted to go. I said, okay then. Look at them go now. It's very confident about places into these, isn't it? Look at this. Wow. Is that right? Oof, shucks. And there we go. Save. So it doesn't lay down a keyframe anytime I don't touch it. You can see that the keyframes are the ones that I've been laying manually, and these are the ones generated automatically. They're not great, but they'll work. Or I'll fix them. Issue, of course, now is very little motion that can't be solved here. And it seems like a square pattern is the best, and here comes the guy who's going to block it. Just when it was going great. Oh, I should be very careful with key presses here. I don't even know what I'm doing. Look at the logo coming running in there. Not him. This. I'm going to scale that up for this next few that we've already calculated. Give it a half a chance of being able to find it. Now it's time to go GG. We'll be doing this for a little while. I could scale it on the X at this moment in time. I could even scale it to something ridiculously small like this. And it'll stand a decent chance of catching it. Don't believe me? Let's watch. So right up to the point that he disappears. That's pretty good. Scale it back on the X. I'm going to make it square again. Square-like. We need to find features that are close to this one. This one over here might do. And which will allow us to track for a very short period of time on something which has a relatively easy to see calculable, like focal plane, not focal plane, but relationship with that other point. I could pick one along the length of brick too, underneath it, make something like here. But big motion is going to be little motion. So big motion for this will translate to this wobbling wildly. Thing is, the next few frames are pretty stable. I'm going to lose one of those points. So there might be something else I'm better off looking to track to. Such as up here, which is not going to move very much. or at least if it does, it's going to move in relationship to that. But I want it to be on the dark areas here, not on the light areas, and I need it to be holding itself like fairly stable. Could change the size of the selection area for this one. Could change the positioning too. Maybe the area is better. The upright is very, very tempting. Still on the point, right? That's pretty darn good. GG. We lock again, get right into the middle. GG, bring it down. Very carefully place it. Find the middle. Or let's use the side. The side's better. I'm thinking about scaling it, or even playing fun with it again and doing it this way. Scale it down, save. Better off keeping it on point now, I think. So at least I can know where to reliably put the son of a gun. I think it must be around about here this time. Very short clip, this one. So the actual pinpoint seems really good. I don't think there's going to be any noticeable changeover when it goes off the point right here. Except that. So this one needs to come over. This needs to be quite a bit more to the right. Next one, guesstimate. You can't be all the way in here. No way. Maybe it is. Grab. Right to there. For all the frames this is going to matter for. Scale on the X. Save again. 1. Go to the beginning and check it. Looks to me like I know what I'm going to use for the second one. Exactly. Should be an ideal situation too. Should solve all my motion issues that I had with the last track. This is pretty good. We'll right to the beginning here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How many do I have to go before I'm going to get it? Okay, so this sign is attracted my attention and proper. Look at that. Pops right out in the channel without the green. But red's not the right thing to do, so let's try it with just blue. Big problem with this thing is, though, not going to be on frame for the whole clip, so it's going to have to be, how to put this, it's going to have to be integrated, like there's going to have to be a stitch point to make up the difference between where the first point's been tracking and where the second one starts. Getting up close on an hour and I'm ready to have a little bit of a stretch break. But first track's done, so I should not be very long. On break, 5 minutes. The things I'm messing up. Okay. Microphone closer, because I'm rattling away. I turned it down again because I've been recording music. See, Janet? In case you're still listening. Won't be long. I always figure out that, I'm consistently amazed that the chatters are coming around. I love it. So I'm trying my best to pay attention to more than one thing, including more than one window. And when I get right into this, I don't think about nothing else. Put it into colloquial. I gotta check. I really need to see that this is bang on the whole way through. This is the only one I really care about, because photo finish. First frame. Don't like that one. Don't like that one at all. Doesn't have a keyframe. So it's auto tracked. Let's see what the last one looked like. That's much smoother, like, to get the same motion. She's moving, so I can't keep holding it absolutely still to her. And when it switches to that other point on the end, it's perfect. So saving now. Changed a few keyframes in between, or a few of the auto. Oh. This one should be back. This one I'm going to do by hand. I'm not sure if this is artifact from compression or what, but I'm going to change that one too. Extrapolated all these in between. The soundtrack is now very loud. Now I can't hear you at all. Can't hear me now at all. It says no drop frames either. Now you can't hear. Oh, right. I turned it up. Good, good. Think this one's locked down. 1 frame, 2 frame, out. Okay. Lock that son of a gun. Ooh, that was the wrong key. I wanted to go back to the beginning. L. So the next thing is, in about 20 frames here, I can start getting this sign. Blurry footage only on the blue channel. I don't need to select this other one. Going to scale it up. I'm going to deselect this. First few I'm going to do by hand. This is a blurred image here. So is this one. Check the point, right? Ooh, here's a tricky. So much blur you can hardly see it. Don't need this. Size this up. Gonna move this back though. Gosh, that's a bright image. And the next one, beautiful. Going to select this middle point with holding shift and right clicking it. G. I'm tempted to make this low scale from here out, but let's make this a little smaller first. Reselect the middle point. Try to track it. The image data is not going to be very useful for that because it's changing too much with blur for a moment. It's so blurry that there's a few places where you can see the perspective lines really clearly. And I can change the image data here to try to help that along, or I can figure out, hey, there might be two of these channels that are better. But generally, if I can find two disparate places at different depths, it doesn't matter if they're in the same line or not. In fact, it's kind of better if they're at different lines, different perspective places, so that it can figure out this is moving because it's not moving much. It's in the background. This is moving a lot. So I can give more weight to whichever one needs it. I'm holding shift to fine tune the selection area here. Get it where I want it. This is going to go off. Nope, just going to go up. Good. This one now doesn't look quite right from the blur. Early morning for you, Janet? I've seen many early mornings. I've seen more dawns, I think, now than I've seen sunsets. I see a lot of those too. Curse of the Night Owl. Yeah. Cathemeral. Get it as you can. Catch as catch can or something like that. I turned down the lag on the chat tonight too. Bit at a time, like how much I'm buffering. There's no sense in me buffering a whole bunch in memory and just causing another loop. So I'm turning the buffer down a little bit at a time. Discovering a bit at a time what I can and can't do. You're welcome. You're not the only one to talk about it. Many people have commented on that. You see the part that I'm tracking here now? It's the most bright point at the very top, so it's easy for me to see it. And that's what I'm going to keep locking to from frame to frame as fast as I can find it. That one's too high, right? So I can trust my eye now. It's down here. These are automatic. I'm holding Alt and using the arrow key to advance frame to frame. That one didn't catch because the modeled pattern is everywhere. Should be trying to track rotation with this one. I might do that after, actually. I can go back at the very beginning and set the keyframe to be rotation at a certain point, and it'll do it from there. Might as well give this a name while I'm thinking about it. This is mall sign. This selection pattern, that's the problem. Or the search, not the selection. If I wanted to scale you down, say. Well, let's say I want to scale you up a little first. And scale you on the Y. I could practically make that a square image, right? Then all I would have to do is keep it square. The rotation would solve itself too. Look how much nicer that is for tracking now. That's why I picked it. It gets really good at the later part of the image, or the latter part of the clip. What if I selected the search area, made it a little bigger on the X? All again. Bit bumpy coming up here. Following the last track to get that idea. This is going to be solid as a rock. That's my point for even doing this one again. But I did it fast twice just to get the photo finish. And now I'm ready to get the now I'm ready to get like a definitive final cut on this one. I can drop it in whichever way I want on top of Ford. Oh, I'll do that. Doesn't much and that's what it's meant to do. That's why if I turn on rote, if I turn on this, it's only tracking location right now. I'll check location first, but once these are done, once through, if I want to switch them over to rote, I go to the beginning, change the very first one, and start scrolling through, and it'll know where to jump better because it's already got location figured out. The tracker will work to do that. The other thing is if I have them both without any rotation data, it figures out how to keep them both where they should be automatically. So we'll see how that works. Whichever one works better, I'll use. Very nearly at the end. One more. Ah, that's it. If I pick the right two trackers, I can also use them to auto zoom, which is kind of nice, but in this case is not really required. Vertical's fast. I don't quite know what you mean by that. What's the order? The only thing that matters with the trackers here is how much the camera is moving, which is what these two lines on the graph are marking. The red, I think, is X. So there tends to be more X motion than Y motion, and Y motion is the vertical. So if you're tracking the vertical line, that's X motion. If you're tracking the horizontal line, that's Y motion. Get me? The vertical lines might be wobbling quite a bit if he's moving his camera like this. The X motion is moving like this, or the Y motion, I should say, because his camera is constantly jittering. Vertical's last? Not necessarily. But I could use the rotation. I find it's better to do the locations first and then go back and do rotation if you need them. I go to the beginning here. Save. Big problem with this right now is there's an offset between frame 1 and frame 2, and without another point to coincide with, I'm going to need something to cover this first 20 frames, so the overlap essentially between the two trackers. And then when the point where they overlap, I'll make a quick switcheroo. Add both of these. The anchor frame will be, let's see, yeah, somewhere like that. This is where I want the center to be, at frame 75. I won't turn on auto scale. I'll pick a scale. Expected rotation and stuff is all cool. I haven't turned rotation on yet either. If I flip that on, it gives me another place for putting in rotation data. Expected scale, I'll change. I can turn off T now. T is the toolbox, where we keeps the tools. If I display stabilization and I go 1.5, say, so the big jump that occurred is right here when the first one cuts in to the second one. And it's right there as the first frame picks up. So that would be a simple thing to fix. But I'll get better results again. Well, I will need the toolbox. I'm going to reload the clip just to be sure. I'll get better results again if I track something over here. And since there's quite a lot of image over here, there should be something I can track for that first. What is it? 22 frames or something? Turn off, stay, begin. Somewhere in here. That. Things that aren't reflections, although I could track reflections too. Reflections are tricky though because they're the same distance beyond the reflection as they are in real life. So if they're far away in real life, they're going to move slowly like something far away. I wouldn't correct either one of them. When you track the points, it automatically figures how much motion has to be allowed for. But the reason why the green motion is limited like this, it's an ATM here? Yeah, probably is. That's a bank deposit thing there, yeah? Or a envelope box. That's probably what I'll look at tracking for the first. This one could do rotation data too, but it doesn't need to. You scale it up. Look for a high contrast point or something really, really bright. Shift, get rid of the middle point. G, G, G. I can now change the whole thing. It takes a weird rotation angle, but it's going to look for that pattern. I'm going to save it. He might pass in front of it, but that can be tracked to this top point for that long. The vertical I find is really useful for keeping a point, which is like when he runs in front of here, we might not see that for a frame, maybe 3 frames. I could track to this for that length of time, and because it's on the vertical, it'll pretty much line up when it's done. That's what the verticals are useful for. Sometimes the horizontal can do that too. First one took, second one didn't. Let's see why. Let's lock to it. Blur had something to do with it. Oh, I haven't reselected the middle. That's not going to help. Maybe I only got to hit G when I do that. Dogs barking. You're starting to come mighty close. So's Ford. Part of the reason I can't see the pattern here is it's gotten big enough now that I got to really make this bigger to see it. So even though he's passing in front, he's not going to actually block it. I don't have to move it. I don't have to guesstimate it. Because I can fairly figure it out from here. That one probably will track. Oh, my bad. Guess I'm wrong. It probably should be bigger again too. Next one. There's a keyframe for every one of these. There we go. I'm clearing that one in order to make this bigger. Saving. Grab. That one looks like it's a little too high. So we can see this one still hasn't picked up yet because its trail isn't drawing. We should start seeing blue ones whenever it starts like that. So I'll go to the next one. It didn't catch. I have to grab. A little bit of updating to these. Getting a better idea. What I'm gonna do. Up and down seems to be pretty good on all of them. So it's only a matter of putting them back to where the X is correct. Ooh. Ooh. Using the middle mouse button to get to the right axis there. X. Use the middle mouse to do it, but it's probably just as well to use the X key and eliminate it that way. Have it right the first time every time. I draw off and use plumb line. Oh yeah, sure. Thing is with the rotation on the camera, tipping this way all the time. So that's why the rotation needs to be tracked, just to keep those. And if you use any kind of weird lens, any kind of lens has a lens distortion. So one of the things you can use Blender to do is to figure out what the lens distortion is by drawing a straight line on there like a plumb line and then applying a deformation matrix to it until the straight line curves to meet the curved lines in the image. And then you can figure out exactly what the lens is. We start with a straight line and then curve it with math to meet the whatever the image shows, and that's the distortion, lens distortion. All lenses, as I understand it, have a distortion. Ooh. This one comes back. As does this one. Okay, try that again. Pretty dang good. X. scaling it, or like pretty much eyeballing it to get in the center. And of course, the tighter the selection boundary is, the easier it is to find too, because you can just line it right straight up on. I haven't been doing it either, because if there's like, I mean, a lot of the time there's not much of a lens on a camera phone. It's a pinhole camera, so the lens distortion is pinhole camera distortion. It's pretty much a flat image when it gets in there because of how it, but then again, some photons bend around the edges, so it's at the edges of the image that you'll even see it. The one that's different, the one that I haven't bothered to do any image correction with, which might be interesting, is Grassy Knoll. Because his has the most obvious type of distortion. It's fisheye. Pain in the butt to get rid of. Doesn't always have good effect. Like, there'll still be weird effects introduced into the image because lines are improbably long at the edges. They just shouldn't be that long. I could give you an idea of what that looks like, actually, if you don't mind checking another link. Or if you go through my, actually I can tell you where to look. You go through my playlist and check for anything with distortion in the title. Search my not my playlist, search my videos for distortion tracks. It's music tracks showing bands down at Distortion. It's a bar downtown. I use my fisheye when I'm filming there because I know I'm going to do some without lens distortion and some with. I could probably find one specifically to illustrate it. Let me do so. It would have been months ago since I have uploaded anything like that. All of these are rock and roll ones. I think this one, I think I might have undistorted that one. Let me just double check before you go clicking away, but
we're gonna try another original, this song called Blame.
you'll be able to tell by looking at things like the bass on the edge of the screen or whatnot. No, that's just motion stabilized. Let me look for another one. I'm trying to remember what I did to which ones. Some of them are way better with, some of them aren't. This is more than likely. This is more than likely de-fisheyed. I can tell you why. You can see there's no curves in the signs and stuff in the back, but things will look improbably large at the edge of the screen. Watch the guitar. For example, here, if you look at the guitar's headstock right here, it's way bigger than it should be. It's bigger than almost in the sound hole. Like what? Like wider. Huh? How could that be? It stretches out a bit too. There's like 5 or 6 of these. Some of them I did just like lens distortion fixed, and some of them I didn't. But you can see the curves in the line of the ceiling, among other places. So now that's playing in the background. Forgot I had that. Ooh. Hit the wrong key that time. Yeah, they're all called sculpins, I think. The heck, but I can keep going on, never know. Scale up. be decent, but I'm going to save this right here. Start backing it up a little.
Thank you.
Can I get more Bernie in the monitor? More on, maybe?
And that's that. Good little stuff, though. Good band, too. Figure I might as well track this as far as it'll last, as opposed to having to marry too many of these together. At least until it goes center screen. That's the last one. Yep. Uh-huh. Scale it up. It must be cold by now. Oh, I hear my gut starting to grumble. Time for a snack and get some snooze soon. There's lots of tools, come to think of it, that like various software tools you can download for tracking what your camera's lens distortion and stuff must be, because it's fairly easily figured out. That last one totally lost the rotation, and there's the reason. It's taken a while to search this area. Don't want that. Scale Y. Spend your time looking this way. Yeah. A still photo is all you would need to measure lens distortion, and the best thing you can do is to find something with long straight lines, like a tall building or whatever. But it's at the edges of the image that you're going to find the most distortion, not at the center. And if it's a pinhole camera like most camera phones got, then the strange thing is that, yeah, photons, they're coming straight in at it. They're not going to bend much because they're coming straight in at it. But ones which happen to hit close enough to the edges, they ricochet and bend in weird directions. But that still fills the whole image. That's how it gets everything inside the aperture. So the only lens you really need is a pinhole. And it still has distortion. The issue here entirely to do with scale. It's got this rear line right. It's got this one light. These two are going to be off, but by the same amount on either side. So you still see perspective. It's getting stretched out. What I need is overall scale, not this. I could also rotate this down till it's up and down again, like properly square. Like that. Scale on the X. Then rotate it again till it matches. Save it. It's moving back on the frame there, but we're moving past it, so I don't mind that so much. Gets to the edge, and that's the end of that. What if I GG right now to say, I'm going to turn rot off at this moment in time. Just go back to location. Ooh, it was doing pretty good right up there. Man, oh man, don't tell me I got this the rest of the frame. That'd be great. That'd be awesome. So they got an early warning system for a dog out there. Carefully picking my point here. As far away from the edge as I can get. Over the edge now. I think it's time to abandon it. Oh, no, sir. Rest of the frame. That's great. 3 points. This will be perfect. Here comes the next trick. Rotate this so that it's square again. I want to really maintain the square relationship of the selection area. Don't want to search. I'm going to scale on X again and get real small about it, like this. GG to put the point right here. R to match the rotation. You can see we're not getting, all I've got to go by is that line, that line, that line. But watch what happens. Look how fast it is. Looks like I did pretty good right up to there, huh? Was that an extra frame or something? Ooh, didn't like that. Now, it's practically back in the frame now. I almost get away with doing it somewhere else. Like maybe even there. Because there ain't too many of those spots around, and it's also in the selection area itself. See how much is moving though, because it's a reflection from the line, from that line. Just clear those for a second. I can get centered by using the lock command. Do that rotation again. I'll match it after. Using shift to get it nice and fine tuned. Scale the X back. GG this time. I place that pretty much in the center. Rotate. Scale it up. Now there's such a huge search area or pattern again. It'll take a little longer to chug a few frames. And we're not getting rotation. Oh, right, I'm offset here. What am I thinking? So why is the pattern offset? Oh, right, because I've offset that myself. That's from what I was doing at the end there. Goes low here when the rotation changes off screen, and then I pop it back. So I have to. I have a few to fix here. Ooh. I hit F there and made it full size for F. Grab Y, moved up tone a little bit. That's better. So of course the point here is best put right on the edge. Which is where I'm aiming to put it afterward. Looks to me like that one could go down then. Gotta make that bigger, or I gotta make that smaller and get more selective. If I went GG, moved it there. Yeah. Scale. GG. Farther away, less motion, right? That one's up a bit. And that was the last one. Great. It's locked. I select it, unlock it there, drop it in here. So I could do without the one that's on the sign if I really wanted to now. But let's see how it works with instead. I'm looking for 2 for stabilization. There's the shift that needs to be keyframed. The last one I just added, bank depth. Going to unlock it, wherever that one's to, is that one. It has a weight setting here, stab weight and actual weight. I could also like give it location influence override down here, but I'm going to change the weight just on this one. Influence the track on the final solution. I want that one to be 73% opposed to the other ones. That one shift needs to be fixed. That's nothing much. I also have to put the whole thing that way. Expected rotate, no, X back there. Start line, finish line over here. Is that over far enough? Maybe that would be better. Gotta frame by frame this part. Okay, and I'm fixing this right now. X, or I, sorry. To insert a keyframe, you hit the I key. Hover over a context box, hit I, it turns yellow. There's a keyframe there. If I right click a context box that's yellow, it gives me options. Or I could replace a keyframe, replace a single keyframe, right, keyframes, or replace a single one. Clear or clear single. Delete all or delete single. Add to a keying set. There's a whole bunch of different things you can do. So I have one set for this keyframe that's not on even on a specific track. That's on the whole thing. That's on the clip. And then the next one, it goes over some finite number of pixels. So now I need to move it back to match where it was. And then keyframe it. So this still needs to come over this way a bit. I hit I over that again to make sure the keyframe is set. That looks pretty good. That's up, that's down. This one needs to move up then. I again. Check the motion of the clip. I can also get a better idea, like a quicker idea, if I go on nearest here rather than by cubic or by linear. But that's the calculations which are made are done either by fast math or increasingly complex math. Gosh, I think this still needs to be farther over. I'm going to do this way. Since I know this is 360, 0, and 260, 50. And the X is negative. 360, 260. So I'm going to move this back. To where the other one was. Hit the keyframe. Go back a frame. And now move this one back another 100. And hit the keyframe. Much better. Before I do that, I'll go back to the beginning here, save it, turn off stabilization in the clip, go to video editing. I laid down a black bar at the beginning, not that I need it for anything, just to kind of remind me that I had the track already cut to size. A clip, just for Mostab. Under clip, I have an option to stabilize 3D. That's going to give us an idea what it looks like at the end. Let's try that one more time. And this is ready for a render. Quick render. I like calling this the Egyptian MoStab. Can you guess why? I think I've already talked about why. 1500 would probably be okay. Run a quick render. Boy, this is a fast one. That is done. Under renders. Gonna cut it from where it is. Gonna bring it over here. Put it in a folder where I won't forget it. And let's have a look at it. Got it on loop. I think that looks better than the one I had in the Ultimate Cut beforehand, but I tended to do a better job with it. Even with the rotation, that isn't bad. See what I got called? The Egyptian MoStab, because of the first frame. All right. That's the main thing I wanted to get done. That takes care of my morning tasks. I'm going to get some rest. I get back at it later. Drop this one little clip in place and start cutting the rest. Should be like less than a day. Thanks for joining me, Janet. Anyone else has been here listening in on the stream. I know there hasn't been much music this morning, but hey, what else has I got to do? I was thinking about other music I could be making over the night. So I'll be practicing a little on my own. Oh, actually, I composed a song last night too while I was sitting around. So, good morning, good evening, and until next time, subscribe, like, comment below. I'm James PFP.